Welcome to the 100 Master Coaches series featuring master coaches from around the world. Let's journey together on this 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Viji is a master certified coach, an experienced management consultant, and a certified systemic and team coach. She's the founder of CoachConsult, an integrated coaching and management consulting practice, which is driven by the guiding belief, play at full potential. Her coaching specialties include executive, leadership, wellness and conflict coaching, working with individuals, teams and businesses. Now on to the show.
Hello, and welcome to the 100 Master Coaches show. This is Coach Mel, and today we have a special guest. Her name is Vijayalakshmi, and she's from Chennai, India. Please give a round of applause to her. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mel. It's a lovely evening here today, and I'm excited to be sharing your space.
Well, it is my pleasure to host you. And just for everyone's knowledge, she's also known as Viji or Coach Viji. So throughout the program, I'm going to address her as Viji. So here we go. The first question today, Viji, is how did it all begin for you, your coaching journey?
So I think maybe even 25 years ago, when I was still, actually even more, maybe even more, when I was sometime, in school, middle school, high school.
Yeah.
I know you must be wondering, why is she relating coaching to sometime, to a time that was so long back.
I'm intrigued. Continue.
So, I think I was lucky to grow up on, a staple diet of sport. I played lots of sport. And, it kind of defined who I became.
Yeah.
And I would pick a lot of team sport. So I dabbled, in basketball. I've played, in an indigenous Indian game, Kho. I used to play table tennis, swimming, athletics. Yeah, all of that. And I think I was fortunate to be exposed to sports coaching very early in my life.
I see.
And I had some wonderful, human beings who I think helped me grow. Helped me grow as a person at 12, 13 years of age. And then it carried on. So that was the first time I heard the word called coach. And I know a lot of people would say that, hey, sports coaching is different. But I think I was fortunate to have at least one or two coaches who pretty much did the essence of, what you and I know as coaching.
Yes.
And while, of course, nobody knew the terms at that point of time. And then as I moved along, as I grew, university and things like that, I would realize that, being captain sometimes, I would gravitate so much so to think about, the team's performance, everyone else's performance, to just stop, look back, sit back and just see what's going on, pick up the pulse of what's happening. So I realized I enjoyed doing all of that as much as I like to play myself. I think my coaching journey really started with the whole beingness of a coach, where you just show up, you gravitate towards it.
Yeah.
And yet it wasn't until much later that I got credentialed.
Yes.
Fast forward a little bit from there, started my work life in, I think one of the best organizations. I started my work life with Unilever. And I was fortunate to have so many opportunities, as a business partner, to work with people. And there again, I kept gravitating towards coaching.
Yeah.
So I think it was all there. And early years, I did a lot of team coaching. Usually a lot of coaches start with one-on-one and then move into team coaching. But I think in my case, it was the reverse. So yeah, it's a long journey with many milestones, Mel.
I'm
But
sure.
I think that's where it all started. I started showing up with some of those things that I know as competencies today, but I just couldn't put words to it.
So I'm curious, Viji, because some people say that we were somewhat having this intrinsic nature, right? It's like a calling within us to be a coach. Some people say that. And then there are others that say, no, there is also that need to get competent with it, the skill up, all of those aptitudes as a coach. And we actually become a coach because we're skilled to be a coach. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a lovely question, Mel. The way I see it, I think there is a science, and then there is this art,
Yeah.
and of course there is this philosophy. Yeah. So I think one is all the thinking, the other is all the doing, and the philosophy is all about the being. And being a master coach yourself, you would probably connect to that I think it's all of that comes together. So I believe while yes, there is a calling, and like I said earlier, some of us may not even be able to articulate it, but we just know it in our bones.
That's so true.
I think there is also formal learning. So I'm as a professional, I'm a big believer in formal learning. So for my own coach training journey, though I had about 15 years of on ground coaching, I still felt no, I wanted to go back, learn it the conventional way. So I did my research, I did my shopping, and finally I said, ICF it is, because I think I connect to the way they look at coaching.
Yeah.
Went back to school, got my ACC, and then yeah, I mean, I got my MCC a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I see the power in, I think, going through the right kind of inputs or certification or training. I think it just helps you. I think it also helps you unlearn.
Interesting.
Yeah, as much as it helps you learn, it helps you unlearn.
Yeah, yeah. I love what you're saying about the unlearn, because I was also talking to some other person yesterday about the same thing. It was about unlearning. What are your thoughts about this? Because obviously all of us have been conditioned through the many years, right, to either think a certain way, to behave a certain way, to even act a certain way. In relation to coaching, maybe we've been pre-exposed, as you say, to the rights and wrongs of coaching through the years, right? And then finally ending up to finding that right formula for coaching, if there's something like that. And that process of unlearning takes place. What do you think about that?
It's interesting, isn't it, Mel, that pretty much our clients go through the same thing. When somebody comes in for the coaching partnership, there's so much unlearning that they
That's so true.
do about themselves, right? People, they think they know for years.
Yeah.
And then they discover facets that are so powerful, so scary, so beautiful. So if our clients can do that or should be doing that, I think coaches should be doing that too. So, I remember when I first started my training towards becoming an ACC coach. I was told you got to unlearn a lot of things. Yeah, I came from a background in consulting, where you're paid to give solutions.
That's right.
Yeah, you can't sort of say I'm going to help you figure this out yourself, right? There is that time dimension, and
absolutely,
it's a very different model. Though I believe that I think I brought in a lot of good things from consulting into the way I service my clients as a coach. But that's a story for a different time. But I think so. I thought there was unlearning to be done, and I did that. But surprise is that every single day you're unlearning.
Yeah, so true.
What works with client X won't work with a seemingly very similar client.
It's true, true.
So
Yeah.
you've got to completely sort of forget all of that. And yet
Mm,
it's those experiences that make you rich.
mm,
So if I might also just move into another topic, which is quite a favorite of mine, which is about saying that, this whole coaching profession, or what we do as coaches,
yeah.
is the world of paradoxes.
Mm,
Yeah. You're learning so many things,
yeah.
and yet you're unlearning every single day. Sometimes you need to go fast. For that, you got to really go slow. Um, the client sometimes wants to go broad, but you're at the same time going very deep.
Yeah.
So I think um, that was a big one for me,
Mm, mm,
to say that yes, paradoxes are real. And
mm,
as a coach, if I can embrace that way of being,
mm.
yeah, I think I can show up a lot better for my clients.
Very nice. I am hearing a few thoughts going there, and I'm hearing paradoxes, paradigms, perspectives, all starting with P, right?
That wasn't planned. That wasn't scripted,
and
Mel.
and let me say this, and going against the grain of the program, isn't it? Because we've been programmed in a certain way, another P word, right?
Yeah.
Program in such a way that it may be somehow painful if we continue in a certain way, continuously hitting your head on the wall, right? Because you are thinking it's the same, but actually it's different. And the different, obviously, the fresh obviously needs fresh solutions, right? So I do hear it. It's in that theme of what we're talking about today. So
So if I
wonderful.
might add another P word, all
Oh,
this is
okay.
powerful.
Yeah. Absolutely. Positively powerful.
Oh, I love this.
So, Viji, you've been coaching for, let's say 20 years. I'm going to ask you, what would be the 3 insights that you want to share with us over your years of experience coaching? What would it be?
Uh, Great question, Mel. And, to, I think, distill all of that and pick 3 is a tough one, but let me try.
Yeah.
I think the first one was the bit about paradoxes that I spoke, right?
Yeah.
If I could, if let's say, um, a coach I really cared about came to me and said, "Hey, can you give me these 3 little your biggest tips?" Right. The first one I would say is being comfortable, with this kind of a dichotomy or paradox, because it's going to come all the time,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Look at it, right? I mean, clients, just the whole design of how we define coaching, right?
yeah.
Clients come to figure out or come to you for solutions. Um, and yet what you offer them is not solutions. Yeah, but they would like to walk away with that.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I think just being comfortable with that, not sort of always looking for black and white,
Mm, nice.
is very important,
I hear you.
right? And this is something I think I learned way back in law school. It's something I'm grateful for, that sometimes, yeah, there is the gray.
Mm, mm,
And as much as, we lawyers look at the black and the white, there is the world of gray,
yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
human beings are all about gray.
So
So
true.
that's a powerful one. And I think going in with that mindset just allows you not to get frustrated, because I think the early years, when you're figuring it all out, working with real, because there is a difference, right, from the textbook your core competencies and how it actually shows up in an engagement.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the core competencies.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's very different. So if you can embrace that and just go with that flow, I think there's magic that will happen. You will feel empowered as a coach.
Yeah.
The other thing which is so connected to this, and that's where, I know, Mel, courage is very important for you, right? And I want to go there, saying that it's very important to be courageous.
Yeah.
As a coach, as a coaching professional.
Yeah.
And there's a specific dimension I want to talk about, which is about being okay with failure. Which is, and sometimes, there is this expectation as a master coach, you know it all, or you don't fail, but that's not true at all.
So
I think I know coaches are probably listening to this, right? And in that shared space, I'm saying this with vulnerability, that it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to realize that I messed up. Yeah, because I think that's where you can kind of really start feeling empowered, and it's very important to feel like that as a coach. When you go in there, right? There again, there's a dichotomy, right? There's partnership. Partnership by definition means you're going, you're equally there. And yet, how much do you own the result of the coaching outcome? Every coach would tell you, right? No, the client owns that outcome.
Yeah.
And to be comfortable with that. So I think, failure, and which means that whenever you're ready to do that, you're going to learn. So, just being open to any and every learning that comes your way. I think that's the second. And there's a third, Mel, which I know seems very simplistic. It touches the heart of coaching and it seems very commonsensical. But again, that's something that the more I discover, the more power I feel in it, which is all about trust. Yeah. So while, we do many things as coaches to create a container of trust, to build that, we talk about confidentiality and so many other things. We should always remember that it's the hardest thing in the world for another human being to come and bare their soul.
Yeah.
And really get naked in some ways. And so as a coach, I think that's the one single thing we can offer to allow clients to be true to themselves. So it's not that the client does not want to be true to you as a coach. Sometimes they don't want to be true to themselves because the truth is so hard.
Wow.
Yeah. So I ask myself every time, how can I be there and yet be invisible for this person to feel that this is safe? This is like talking to myself.
That's so beautiful. I am tying it all in my mind and I'm going to go backwards. Your third point was about presence. That presence that you are there, to be there for them and yet invisible, as you say. The second one in the middle that you were saying is, I feel it's like the permission to fail. Because sometimes we don't give ourselves the permission to fail. Right? We say we are already arrived, right? So we cannot fail. And I think that's a lesson that we can learn. And of course, the first one is your paradoxes. Actually, now I think about it, it's everything about coaching. Coaching is such a paradox, isn't it?
It is, right? So, which is why sometimes I just feel a little awkward. Somebody says, what's your point of view on this? And I always want to go out there and say, you know what, tomorrow my point of view may change.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, don't quote me on that. That's what I say.
Thank you. I realize that you've been, as you say, a consultant for X number of years, right? I know there are people listening in who'll be thinking, how difficult it is to really go full time into coaching, right? Because it is a brave decision to get in. Tell us about that journey when you said, okay, I will really now walk away from my consulting and do this coaching full time. Yeah.
So if I start with feelings, I think when that happened, right? Initially, it doesn't hit you, but I think I felt that kind of, positive energy. There was like all of that buzz. There was a bit of nervousness, right?
Yeah.
Never a fear of failure. Interestingly, I don't know. It sort of never struck me. Maybe because, for me, optimism is a very important value. Often friends would say, is it optimism or is it, hopelessly avoiding realism?
That's so funny.
So I don't think it's the latter. I think it's genuine
Yes.
optimism.
Absolutely. I believe you, Viji.
So I kind of said, hey, I'm getting into this, right?
Yeah.
And interestingly, Mel, just to set, set the context right.
Yeah.
I never sort of, when I started, said, it was just one of those things. I woke up and I said, hey, I'm going to sort of let go of consulting, right?
Okay.
Because it was something I was very good at.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing of life. There are things you're very good at. And I had many such turning points.
Yeah.
And then there are things that give you that extra spring in your step.
Ooh.
And that's always a hard one, right? To kind of say, to let go of, it's like, the players who retire when they're
yes.
Top of their career.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So in some senses, it was like that, right? Though not as dramatic as that.
Yeah.
So I kind of said, let me do this, right? I mean, let me make a living out of coaching. So that was the big one. So I don't think I've ever kind of made money as a coach till then, because largely it was all internal coaching. So for me, that was the big one, to say, how do I figure this out? What's it really worth? Yeah. I mean, not even in a marketing sense, pricing strategy and all of that, right? It was simply about very fundamental questions, right? What is this really worth for a human being? Yeah. An hour of my time, or 10 hours of period of my life.
Yes.
Right. So that was very hard, going back to that drawing board, because it was not something I knew. And let's also talk, this was at a time when I think this profession was, just about picking up, right? I mean, we're talking about a time when the number of credentialed coaches in a country like India was very, very few.
Okay.
It's not even as if the buyers of services were big on things like credentialing, or nobody really understood what it was, right? And most people were mixing up coaching with many other things. So to go there and then say, let me figure out answers, was a difficult one, right? But I think I went with my intuition. Okay. And so I kind of always wanted to add this on and sort of carry half of consulting coaching. I tried doing that till I realized after some time that this ain't going to work. This thing called coaching is calling all of me, not just in terms of time, but just the whole
the whole being.
The whole being, right?
Yeah.
So I said, if that's where it is, it's okay. Let me kind of put a big pause on this. So I still consult. I still do niche work. I still don't say no to a few of my older clients and people who come to me, but I don't talk about it. I mean, I don't really tell people. So I think it was a very gradual kind of transition in some senses. It was not so because A was not working, but the B was just calling me so strongly. And I think somewhere along the way, my learning was, right, don't complicate this thing too much.
Nice.
I will probably also say something which might be very counterintuitive, Matt.
It's okay.
Is that
I'm ready.
A lot of, and this is advice I got as well when I was starting out. And a lot of people think, it's just so important to break into the market, right? To do all of those things, which are important, right? The marketing, the external stuff and all that. But I would say in your early years, invest in building yourself internally.
That's so good.
So important. And something that takes a lot of time. do your inner work, go beyond what is required of a credential, um, and I think do all of that. It's okay if this is not there, if all the external things are not there, but if all of that is there, and you go to the coaching session, right? You're coaching someone and you're feeling shaky. That's really going to make you feel a little shaken.
Yeah.
And that was happening to
So,
me initially. I was going out there, and that's also how my mastery journey actually began, Mel. To sort of take a decision, it was nowhere on the cards for me. Yeah. And I would think, in terms of age, I'm not one of the older master coaches. And I think it's okay. It's a fair expectation, right? That you have a lot more of your grays when you decide to do these things. But I think for me, it was simply that I just didn't feel, confident coaching at the level I was coaching, right? It just didn't feel complete for me,
yeah.
right? I knew, many things inside, but when I showed up in the coaching room, I was still doing everything very transactionally, um, which didn't seem to me philosophically right. So I said, I have to go into this exploration. Yeah, let me invest. Yeah, I mean, I know at that point of time, nobody in their senses would have, invested that kind of money, time, and everything, right? When my coaching business hadn't even taken off. So very counterintuitive, but I think that worked, and that's one big learning moment.
Wow. Slowing down, being confident that the inner work will get you there. It's not faster, but it will get you there in your own time. It will prepare you for the longer term. That's what I'm taking away, right? So when you face those bigger challenges along the way, you've already done the work, right? With yourself.
Yeah, I think so. You've beautifully framed it, Mel.
Viji, I know that you have served your coaching community as well, right? You've put up your hand, you've been president-elect, and of course now you are president of ICF Chennai Chapter. Tell us a little bit about that journey, and why is that ICF decision, being involved in community so important?
Great question, Mel. And something I can uh, certainly say, doesn't have a cognitive answer, but again, something much deeper,
Yeah.
and it's also learning about my own self. So I think for as long as I remember, making things count. Yeah. So it's like if you have a vote, make it count. If you have a voice, make it count.
Yeah.
If you're going to be there, show up. Right. These were, I think, very early lessons, and I think I kind of, um, really owe it to my parents. We came from very middle class upbringing,
Yeah.
and doing the right things and putting in the hard work was the only way we knew.
Yeah.
Right. And in some senses, participation, yeah, was a very important value that was instilled. So I think my own definition of leadership has a very strong component of participation, right? So you don't need a formal title, but as long as you're making yourself count,
Yeah.
you're showing up as a leader. And then sometimes life has this way of just taking you to places you didn't want to go, right? But it just seemed right.
Yeah.
So coming more closely to the ICF journey, yeah, I think again for me was about saying that I think it happened around the time I'd embarked on my mastery journey, and and I call it a journey because every day is work in progress, right? After I got my MCC, the first feeling I had was, oh, it feels like I'm back to the drawing board again. There's so much I don't know,
Yeah.
right? But however, at the
I
same
agree.
time, I also felt the sense of responsibility. Yeah, it's about saying that mastery is not just about how you show up with your clients.
Yeah.
Yeah, mastery, or investing yourself and doing all of the self work. Finally, who is it going to benefit? Is it just for yourself? Is there a community you're part of? By which time I was already a pretty active ICF member, right? A member of the chapter. So I'm one of those kind of members who, will, just join something and, look at a vision and say, okay, how am I going to contribute to this, right? I might be like the last mile, last person in the, assembly line, but it doesn't matter to me. I think I count, right?
Yeah.
So I think all of this was happening. And I said, can all of this just help give back, to the coaching community? Can I help, in some senses uplift the profession?
Yeah.
What's my duty here, right? And so it was that sense that I think propelled me there. And again, you must understand the context, Mel. In a market like India, where I feel coaching awareness, we have a long way to go. And so while it's a challenge, it's a huge opportunity. You do need those few people who will say that, hey, I'm going to be there, part of this, the slog to really make it happen.
Yeah.
So I think that was it. And let me tell you another thing, Mel.
Sure.
I was not happy being in a profession, right? Or coming into something where people didn't even know what it meant. And I'm not joking, right? Even today, in many sections of our society, you tell them you're a coach. The first thing they will ask you is, hey, do you coach badminton? Do you coach music? Cricket? Yeah, whatever, right? So I mean, so that's the kind of association, right?
Yeah.
The longest battle for us is to explain what coaching is and who we are as coaches.
Yeah.
That didn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
And I said, we've got to do something about it, right? Nobody is going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
We as professionals, which is why I think all of us as professionals have a certain sense of, responsibility and leadership we need to take for the profession. How are we going to really shift the needle?
Yeah.
So these are questions, I think, that just drew me to say that, okay, I'm putting up my hand here. And I think, life just allowed, my raised hand to kind of be taken somewhere. That's how it happened. So 3 years ago, you would have asked me this. I mean, it wasn't anywhere on my scheme of things.
Yeah.
I also want to share with you about something else that's very dear to me, thanks to this pandemic. And, it's still work in progress. So it's not a thing of the past. It's very live and active and all of that.
Yeah.
So one of the things when the pandemic broke out and we didn't know what was going on was this latent need in a few of us in the coaching community saying, hey, we want to make a difference, right? Can we do something? Can we show up as coaches? Every other profession is showing up, right?
Yeah.
The medicos are showing up, the policemen are showing up, everyone's showing up. It is in times of crisis that a profession is truly tested.
So good.
So
agree.
We started this little movement. Little I say so because we started with less than 20 volunteers, very organically. And, we started in Chennai. And before we realized it, we had more than 200, 300 people coming in.
Yeah.
And what was it about? It was about coaches saying that we can make a difference in these difficult times, providing emotional and mental support, not through therapy, not through counseling, not through, just being a friend, but through the power of coaching. So pro bono coaching conversations are offered in a very inclusive way. Anyone, irrespective of which socioeconomic strata of society they come from, which part of the world, can just click a button, sign up, and a professional, trained, certified coach will offer a coaching session entirely free of cost. Even now when I think of it, I get goosebumps because it's a very simple idea, but we had many roadblocks to execute it, right? Whether people would understand it, anything free will be devalued. There were a lot of naysayers. It was something that was never tried. But I think there again, so important for the community to rally around together and show up together, right? I would say it's been such a blessing that we could stand up.
And I know what you're mentioning is called Coaches for You. Well done. I followed it when he started. I even tried to put my hand up, and then I realized it was for India at a point of time. And then, of course, now I hear you have opened up for it to be a global initiative.
Thank you, Mel. And we need all of the blessings and the positive energy from coaches everywhere, friends like you, because it's a bold experiment. Still so much we need to figure out.
Yeah.
But it's been humbling.
Yeah. Yeah. We live in a brave time such as this, right? Where it requires brave actions like what you currently doing with the ICF in establishing the coaching profession, extending it even pro bono with Coaches for You. I would love to ask you this question because the future is just around the corner. The future actually is here. What do you think, Viji, the future of coaching will be like?
That's like looking through the crystal ball.
Absolutely.
If I had a piece of paper and colors, what would I paint?
Yeah.
What comes up for me?
Yeah.
I think what emerges for me is, the reality where coaching will be an integral part and fabric of society. And I again say this because I do know that, in many nations of the world, it's very commonplace, it's accessible, but equally so, there are nations and parts of society where it's inaccessible.
Yeah, I agree.
It's for the privileged few. It's too complicated, right? I actually envision a world where coaching is as commonplace as medicine. And people would say that, hey, I'm going to, I need to talk to a coach. As they would say, I need to visit a doctor.
Yeah.
The only difference being coaching is not necessarily about taking care of disease. It's like going to the gym where you are gearing yourself up for the future.
Yeah.
So I see coaching, really being part of society, coaching getting democratized. And that's how I see this whole thing, showing up for the profession. Accessibility.
I love it. I use the same words, Viji.
Promise I didn't
Oh
lift it
my
off
gosh.
from you.
It was a goosebump moment for me, right? I say we need to democratize coaching. And one of the reasons why I am doing this 100 master coaches, it's also about accessibility. Think about it. Every young coach coming in may in their lifetime only have access to maybe a maximum of 5 master coaches, right? They attend their coaching school. They have some mentors along the way. They get to know a few from the ICF. And that's it. And so, this was birthed because of that same cry. If we could pull all of that force, right, that energy, that wisdom, and put it into a beautiful jar that will forever be there to be accessible for people. I love what you said. I love
More
what you
power
said.
to you, Mel.
We've come so far, so deep. And it's almost coming to the end of this session. I often ask this question on the show. What will be, Viji, your master wisdom for the budding coaches coming in right now?
Let me share what's coming up for me right now in this moment. And thank you, Mel, I think, for allowing me the space to flow.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that flow and authenticity is what's allowing me to share as things are coming up for me. I would invite people coming new into the profession, budding coaches, to seriously look at minimalism. Yeah. Less is more. Another paradox. But and I have a reason for saying this. When you start off, you know, and it's very natural, right? You want to prove yourself. You want to tell the world that you're credible, you've done your homework, you know, you've got your stuff. But at the end of the day, these are tick boxes.
Yeah.
What really matters is, you know, very, very basic construct, going back to the basics. Say, what is coaching really all about? Am I showing up as a coach? Am I offering those 3 or 4 fundamental pillars that are required for growth? For another human being, can I hold space for them? Right? And one of the things I learned in mastery was it's usually these very basic things that are actually challenging, because being consistent about them is not easy. So friends, whoever is listening to this, less truly is more. And ask yourself what that less is. What's really your magic that you bring in as a person? Because you as a person is pretty much really your USP as a coach. It's very difficult to separate the two. And how much do you allow yourself to come into that relationship, that conversation, to partner with your clients to go wherever they want to go, and for which tools and techniques and the hardware and all of that fancy stuff only comes secondary. So I go into a session, or when I come out, I ask myself, did I do A, B, and C? Yeah, and sometimes the A, B, and C changes, but it's very basic, right? It's about saying, could the client trust you? It might have been a client of years or 10 months or whatever. But in that session, that 1 hour, did they feel safe with you? Could you offer a psychologically safe space, right? Now, I don't need a tool and a technique to do that. I've just got to go back to who I am and just show up there. So go easy on yourself. You know, don't carry many monkeys on your back. Less is more. And just go. You will just show up so masterfully.
So good. This is so good. Less is more. You know, as coaches, we ask powerful questions. And I would love to invite you to bring your simple, powerful question that you want to share with the world today.
I have 2, Mel. May I?
Oh, please.
The first one is, if a 5-year-old were to walk up to you, yeah, and ask you, what do you do for a living? Or ask you, what is this coaching thing all about? What would your answer be? I found this question to be one of the hardest, and it took me the longest time to come out with an answer. I call this the elevator pitch. 20 seconds, can you explain coaching to someone who has no idea about it? And children are the hardest ones, where you could just show up so simply.
So true.
That's the first.
Thank you.
Second one, again, a favorite that I ask myself, Mel, from time to time. When you're 80 and you look back to today, who must you be that will really make you feel proud of yourself?
Wow. Two masterful questions from the paradox of time. It's all tying back, right? What we talked about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So magnificent. Thank you for sharing that. Viji, this is the time in our interview where I invite you to share your social handles, the context on how the audience can get in contact with you. So please.
That's very kind of you, Mel, to offer that space.
Welcome.
So I don't have too many. Best place to reach out to me is on LinkedIn. My profile reads Viji MCC, VIJI-MCC. I'm very happy to accept requests and to just be connected with more like-minded people. Yeah, of course, I have presence on Facebook and Instagram, etc. But I think LinkedIn is a good place to reach out. Wonderful. The other one, because it's just so dear to me, and as I said earlier, we want more people to come and join this movement, more coaches to get involved, right? Yeah. Towards making that difference, towards actually bringing in systemic change. Yeah. Is the Coaches for You website, which is a mission-driven movement that I'm part of, along with many others. And the website is www.coachesforyou.in. That's the website. Yeah. Do come and check it out and sign up as a volunteer. It certainly is one hell of a ride.
Thank you. This has certainly been a hell of a ride with Viji on the 100 Master Coaches show. Thank you once again for being here, for sharing your heart out, for sharing all the P's that we talked through. I just want to say we are so grateful.
Thank you, Mel. I had such a lovely time just flowing with you, and so many things emerged.
Yes.
But I go back richer, and thanks to your thought-provoking questions, that I think today I discovered a little bit more about me. Thank you.
You're welcome. There you have it. Coach Viji, and this is Coach Mel signing out on the 100 Master Coaches show. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye.
You have been watching the 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Brought to you by Catalyst Coach. www.catalystcoach.live. We will be right back with our next Master Coach on the 100 Master Coaches series.